If you can still stand up from a chair without using your hands, you might think that means you're fine. But here's what most people don't realize. The way you get out of a chair today is one of the clearest signs of how independent you'll be 5, 10, even 15 years from now. And there's one simple daily habit, taking less than 2 minutes, that can quietly protect that ability for years to come. Most people have never heard of it. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is, why it matters so much after 75, and how to start it today, even if you've never exercised a day in your life. Let's talk about why this matters so much, especially once you've crossed into your 70s and beyond. Independence isn't just about living alone or driving your own car. It's about being able to get up off the couch without thinking twice. It's about climbing a few stairs without grabbing the railing in a panic. It's about catching yourself if you stumble on an uneven sidewalk instead of falling. All of these small, everyday movements depend on one thing that quietly fades with age if we don't pay attention to it: muscle strength in your legs and core. Doctors have a name for the gradual loss of muscle that comes with aging. It's called sarcopenia, and it simply means the natural shrinking and weakening of muscle tissue over time. Think of your muscles like a savings account. In your 30s and 40s, you're not adding much to it, but you're not losing much either. Starting around your 60s, though, that account begins losing value every single year, sometimes as much as 1 to 2% of muscle mass annually, unless you actively work to protect it. By your 80s, without intervention, many people have lost a significant portion of the strength they once had in their legs and hips. And the legs and hips are exactly the muscles you need most to stay steady. Get up from low surfaces and avoid falls. This is why the habit we're about to walk through isn't about building bulging muscles or training for a marathon. It's about protecting the foundation that everything else in your daily life is built on. And later in this video, we'll also touch on a common mistake almost everyone makes when they try to address this, one that can actually make things worse instead of better. So keep watching, because that part alone might change how you think about staying active after 75. Let's start with the science, kept as simple as possible. Your legs contain some of the largest and most powerful muscle groups in your entire body, particularly in the thighs and hips. These muscles aren't just for walking. They're responsible for the motion of standing up from a seated position, something most of us do dozens of times a day without ever thinking about it. Standing up from a chair, a car seat, the toilet, or a low couch all rely on the same group of muscles working together in a coordinated push. Researchers have actually studied how well someone can stand up from a chair as a way to predict overall health and longevity. In several studies looking at older adults, the ability to rise from a seated position without using your arms or hands was linked to lower rates of falls, better mobility scores, and even differences in how long people lived afterward. This doesn't mean struggling to stand up causes shorter life expectancy directly. Instead, it's a signal. It tells us something about overall muscle strength, balance, and the body's ability to handle physical stress, all of which connect to staying steady and avoiding injury. Here's a relatable way to think about it. Picture two neighbors both in their late 70s. One of them gets up from her kitchen chair the same way she did in her 50s, in one smooth motion, knees and hips working together. The other neighbor has to rock back and forth, push off the table with both hands, and sometimes ask for a hand getting up after sitting for a while. On the outside, they might look similarly active. They both walk to get the mail, both garden a little, both seem to be doing fine. But the difference in how their bodies handle that simple movement of standing up reveals two very different trajectories. One is maintaining strength, the other is quietly losing it, often without realizing how much until a fall or an injury forces the issue. So, what's the habit that helps protect against this? It's something simple called the sit-to-stand practice. Each day, ideally once in the morning and once in the evening, you sit in a sturdy chair, then stand up slowly and with control, without using your hands to push off, if you're able to do so safely. Then you sit back down with the same slow control, rather than dropping into the chair. You repeat this for around 8 to 12 repetitions, resting as needed in between. That's it. No equipment, no gym membership, no fancy outfit, just a chair you already own and 2 minutes of your day. Why does this particular movement matter so much more than, say, just walking? Walking is wonderful for your heart and your overall health, and we'll always encourage it. But walking primarily uses a smaller range of motion in your legs, and it doesn't ask your muscles to handle your full body weight in the same way that standing up from a seated position does. The sit-to-stand motion forces your thighs, hips, and core to generate real strength against resistance, which is your own body weight. This is what researchers call a functional strength movement, meaning it directly mirrors something you need to do in real life, rather than an abstract exercise that doesn't translate to daily function. Think of it like the difference between practicing scales on a piano and actually playing a song you'll perform at a recital. Walking is the scales, useful and important. But the sit-to-stand movement is the actual song, the precise motion your body will need again and again throughout your life. Whether you're getting up from a park bench, your favorite armchair, or a pew at church. Now here's that common mistake we mentioned earlier, the one that can quietly undo someone's efforts. Many people, once they notice their legs feeling weaker, instinctively start relying more on their arms and hands for support. They push off furniture, grip railings tightly even when they don't need to, or ask for help getting up from low chairs. This feels like the safe choice in the moment, and to be clear, if you genuinely need that support to avoid a fall, please use it. Safety always comes first. But for those who could manage without it and choose not to simply out of habit or fear, this creates a pattern where the leg muscles are used less and less, accelerating the very weakness they're trying to avoid. It's a bit like a path through a field. The more you walk a certain trail, the clearer and easier that path becomes. But if you stop walking it, the grass grows back, and eventually the path disappears entirely. Your muscles work in a similar way. The more you ask them to do the work of standing, the more your body maintains its ability to do so. The less you ask of them, the more that ability fades. This is exactly why the sit-to-stand habit can be so valuable. Done safely, ideally with a sturdy chair against a wall or in a corner where it won't slide, and with something nearby to hold onto if balance becomes a concern, it gently and consistently asks your leg muscles to keep doing real work. And because it's so short and requires no special equipment, it's one of the easiest habits to actually stick with long term, which matters more than almost anything else when it comes to protecting your strength as the years go by. Let's talk about how to ease into this if you're starting from a place where standing up already feels difficult. There's no need to rush into doing it without your hands right away. The first goal is simply consistency. If you need to use your hands on the armrest at first, that's perfectly fine. Focus on doing it slowly and with control, rather than worrying about hand placement. Over several weeks, as your legs adapt, you can begin using your hands less and less, perhaps just resting your fingertips lightly on the armrest for balance, rather than pushing with your full strength. Many people find that within a month or two of consistent daily practice, they notice a real difference, getting up from low chairs or car seats with noticeably less effort than before. It's also worth mentioning who should be especially cautious or check with a doctor before starting this. If you have significant knee or hip pain, recent joint replacement surgery, severe balance issues, or a history of frequent falls, it's wise to speak with your doctor or a physical therapist first. They may have specific modifications for your situation, or they may want to supervise your first few sessions to make sure the movement is safe for your particular joints and condition. This habit is meant to support your independence, not to put you at unnecessary risk, so a quick conversation with a healthcare professional before starting is always a smart and responsible step if you have any of these concerns. Beyond just the chair exercise itself, there are a few small additions that can amplify the benefit if you're comfortable with them. Some people like to hold light household items, such as a couple of soup cans or small water bottles, while doing the movement, once they've mastered the basic motion without extra weight. This isn't necessary for everyone, and it should only be added once the basic movement feels easy and controlled. Others find it helpful to pair the habit with something they already do every day, like right after brushing their teeth in the morning and right before brushing their teeth at night, so it becomes attached to an existing routine rather than something they have to remember separately. This brings up something important about how habits actually stick, especially as we get older. Trying to add too many new things at once rarely works well for anyone. The people who maintain new healthy habits long-term are almost always the ones who started small, attach the habit to something they already did consistently, and gave themselves grace on the days they missed it rather than giving up entirely. The sit-to-stand practice works precisely because it asks so little of your time while protecting something so valuable. 2 minutes twice a day tied to brushing your teeth is a request almost anyone can say yes to. There's one more piece worth touching on, and it connects back to that idea of independence we started with. Muscle strength in your legs doesn't just affect whether you can stand up easily. It directly affects your confidence in moving through the world. People who feel strong and steady on their feet tend to stay more socially active, continue hobbies like gardening or walking with friends, and maintain a sense of control over their own daily lives. People who feel shaky or uncertain on their feet often, understandably, begin avoiding activities, staying closer to home, and gradually becoming more dependent on others. Not because they have to, but because fear of falling quietly shrinks their world. Protecting your leg strength is, in a very real sense, protecting your freedom to keep living the life you want to live. Now, let's bring this all together. The way you currently get up from a chair tells a story about your strength, your balance, and to some degree, your future independence. The good news is that this isn't fixed or out of your control. A simple daily habit, the sit-to-stand practice, done for just a couple of minutes morning and night, asks your leg muscles to keep doing real work. The same work they'll need to do for walking, climbing stairs, and catching yourself if you ever stumble. Avoid the trap of relying too heavily on your hands and arms out of habit, rather than necessity, since this can quietly accelerate the very weakness you're trying to prevent. Start slow, build consistency before worrying about perfect form, and check with your doctor first if you have joint pain, recent surgery, or a history of falls. This single habit won't solve everything on its own, and no video or routine can promise that. But it's a small, evidence-informed step that puts real strength training, the kind your body specifically needs for daily independence, directly into your hands, quite literally, in just a couple of minutes a day. If this video gave you something useful to think about, I'd love to hear from you. Which part surprised you the most? The research on standing up and longevity, or the common mistake of relying too much on your hands? Let me know in the comments, and feel free to share how old you are and where you're watching from. This channel is built by people just like you, sharing real experiences and supporting each other through the process of aging well. If you've already been practicing something like this sit-to-stand habit, share what you've noticed. Your experience might be exactly what someone else watching needs to hear today. Take care of yourself, take it one small habit at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.